Okay, so we're going to talk about the Mandalorian Grogu. The biggest reveal to me that came out of that panel was it wasn't even a reveal. It was just confirmation that Sigourney Weaver is going to be in the film, and we even caught a glimpse of her. They showed some debut footage. This is the first time we're seeing footage from a new Star Wars movie in 7 years. So pretty exciting. A lot of action happening in this footage. It all begins with the interior of an AT-AT and some very
This was
concerned.
so cool to see.
It was unbelievable.
You've ever wondered what it looks like inside of an AT-AT? Now we finally know. And the snow troopers, and man, was this given OT feels all over the place. It was awesome.
This is action figure playtime going on right here.
Yes,
it is, and you got a good collection too at your disposal. So yeah, Din drops into the fight, and he surprises everyone, blasts away at everyone, uses the flamethrower, pulling out all the tricks, and then he's seen flying away with Baby Yoda as the AT-AT explodes. And I love the visual of the exploding AT-AT then tipping over and falling off this ledge alongside a mountain and crashing down. I mean, that's pretty clever. And look at these AT-ATs. Don't they look a little interesting to you? It seems
they
like
definitely they've morphed a little bit. These are
they seem like smaller AT-ATs. They're just ATs.
Do you think they're smaller, or is this like what we're seeing between the First Order AT-ATs that we see and the Imperial AT-ATs? Maybe this is the missing link in between those two.
I don't know. They just seem to be a little smaller as far as the body goes. The legs seem normal size, but I don't know. That body just seems to be a little more compact.
Yeah,
to me,
it's definitely a different design.
Yeah, maybe a little more like a piece of concept art by Joe Johnston or Ralph McQuarrie, and it was just a great sequence. And you see Din flying away from the exploding AT-AT with Baby Yoda. So I think this was a rescue mission. Maybe Baby Yoda found himself in the clutches of evil once again.
Once more,
you know.
Yeah.
But it could be just something that starts off the movie, and Baby Yoda got picked up for some silly reason,
it'd be great. I'd love it if it was like a pre-title sequence, like a Bond film, where every time we see Mando on one of these things, we see him at the end of the previous adventure before we get into the next one. That would be pretty cool.
That'd be great. Then we see Sigourney Weaver. She debuts in The Mandalorian. And it appears that she's the one from the New Republic who is going to hire Din and put him out on his mission. Because if you remember at the end of Mandalorian Season 3, Mando checked in with Carson Teva, said, I'm available to you guys if you ever need me. Give me a holler. And then he went back to Navarro where Apollo Creed gave him his own
Grief
place.
Karga. I'm going to help you out. Grief Karga. Yeah. You could call him Apollo Creed. I don't think Carl would mind. But yeah,
Creed Karga and Apollo Karga. Yeah. So he gave Din his own place there out in the country, and Din was just kicking back and relaxing. But it appears that the vacation is over, and he's being called into service here. And some comedy, a bowl of candy on the table, Baby Yoda reaching out with the Force, pulling on the bowl as Sigourney Weaver rapidly grabs it and gives him a look. And really cool to see. I've always loved Sigourney Weaver, and she's another one who's made herself very friendly to the franchises over the years with Ghostbusters, Aliens, and now Star Wars. And she has, a taste of this, a different kind of sci-fi with Galaxy Quest for sure. Let's not forget Galaxy Quest.
Well, I was thinking they brought it up when she was out there. I think Carboni mentioned Galaxy Quest, and I completely forgot actually that she was in that movie. But, there's got to be a little bit of art imitating life, as here she is now at a convention. I don't think she may have done a few con appearances, very limited. I know she does some signings here and there, but that Galaxy Quest definitely probably prepped her for her appearance at Star Wars Celebration.
So, of course, this is the first official confirmation that we're getting from Star Wars and Lucasfilm about Sigourney Weaver's participation. But she did reveal to Deadline, last summer, that she would be in The Mandalorian and Grogu. So, so it's been known. A lot of these big announcements, very few of them haven't been rumored previously. We knew all about the Sean Levy, Ryan Gosling film. The big surprise for us is, and we knew it would start shooting in fall. We reported that. We also said that there would be a May 2027 release. That's something else that we reported. Based on rumors and stuff. It's not like we're out searching down this information. So when I say we reported, it's not like we're the investigative reporters here. Sometimes we are, but not in this case. So I don't want to be like taking credit for other people's scoops or anything, but we knew that it was going to be shooting in the fall. We knew that would be coming out in May 2027. We didn't know the title, Star Wars Starfighter. So that was a big reveal. With Mando and Grogu, we certainly knew Sigourney Weaver was going to be in it. There was a name, a rumored name. I think it was maybe Jeff Snyder who threw it out there.
Oh, for her character?
For her character.
I just have her down as New Republic officer. You think she'll have a real name?
Oh, they gave her a name. Somebody had applied
Somebody
a name.
in the chat might know.
Yeah, does anybody remember what that name was? I'm looking through my notes and previous reports. Our RFR reports, but I'm not coming up with it right now. So
another thing that was talked about was that we might see some of these Rebels characters showing up, and we did get Zeb. Zeb is back. He had his debut originally in The Mandalorian, but maybe he'll take a larger role here.
Yeah, maybe.
And not just be someone in the background, which he was before.
We did hear that the budget for The Mandalorian and Grogu budget is reportedly a lot lower than the money that was thrown at everything from The Force Awakens through the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. I mean, they have a more reasonable George Lucas-esque budget for The Mandalorian and Grogu. And, George was always very, very cautious about the money he spent, because as an individual, he could have ended up losing everything by funding his own movies if they weren't a success. George was lucky. He struck oil every time. Each one of his films were massive box office successes, making him more and more rich along the way. But the possibility always remained that by funding his own films, he could be completely devastating his finances should it not be a success. So he made magic happen with, I think, limited resources. I think with filmmaking now, they have massive resources, and just like this bottomless amount of resources at their disposal. And it doesn't necessarily make better films. It doesn't necessarily create better looking films.
No, I would argue that you need parameters. I think you need limitations. I think that some of the best films that we've ever seen, from Jaws to Star Wars itself, had to deal with limitations. And we do live in this world where, from a technology standpoint, you can make anything happen. And that doesn't always lead to great storytelling. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. So I like there being a little bit of a throttle being pulled back. And from a fiduciary standpoint, Disney has to be doing this. It's what the stockholders are going to be demanding. You cannot give these creatives, especially on the heels of something like The Acolyte, just a blank check, no matter what the, so they can get whatever they want. So
So keeping that in mind, you know, I mean, Zeb's appearances might be limited, or he might be really, you know, part of the crew throughout the entire adventure. You see, R5D4 is back. You see him in the background there of this shot as the Mando and Zeb are walking toward the camera. And yeah, Zeb, you know, anything to tie it all into Star Wars Rebels. If Dave Filoni has anything to do with it, it's all going to go back to Star Wars Rebels, that's for sure. And the Mandalorian and Grogu is incorporating Zeb, so should be interesting. Here's Mandalorian.
I just threw this shot in. I just thought it reminded me a little bit of Dexter's Diner a bit, but I think this is a more upscale establishment. There, it's a bar restaurant. It's like the Star Wars equivalent of like an Applebee's, I think.
Or he's in the lounge at the now shuttered Star Wars Hotel.
That could be.
It's like,
hey, we gotta repurpose this thing. Let's just use it to film, you know?
And they're keeping things on the cheap, like I said, you know. The budget is not infinite, so they're at the shuttered hotel.
Hey, people want practical sets. We're going to give them a practical set, right?
We're going to give you our bankrupted hotel concept.
How about Grogu swimming? This was pretty cool.
I loved it. I just love the idea of this little guy in the water with the big heavy cloak on, you know. He's on his, obviously he didn't mean to go for a swim at this moment. I think he was thrown into the water by some unfortunate circumstances, but yeah, we get to see Grogu swimming. So
yeah,
you know, I hope the puppeteer could hold his breath for a long time.
Now, if you thought that he was going to forget all of that Jedi Force training because he chose Mando, no, he's going head to head with a mouse droid here in this scene.
Yeah.
And there can only be one winner, and of course it's Grogu, and he successfully blows up the mouse droid.
Didn't we already see a similar sequence like this in?
Did he already take on a mouse droid? Are they repeating themselves already?
Didn't Grogu have a confrontation with a mouse droid at some point in season 3? I can't recall. Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Maybe I'm thinking of like a Bad Batch episode that has nothing to do with this. So here, and then another thing we knew was that Rada the Hutt was going to be in this. We reported that he was going to be buff and ripped and a gladiator, and I think we get confirmation of all of that here.
Yeah, I was so hard. Now, those of you, you know, steeped in the comic books, I know that there's been a lot of different Hutts. You know, my Hutt reference is always, you know, big sloppy fat Hutts. I mean, the idea of a buff Hutt, gladiator style, you know. But here it is, and I got to say, from this limited view, it looks pretty cool. It looks real cool.
Yeah, not bad. You know, he's got the ab muscles, which is incredible to think of a slug with with a six-pack, you know.
Right.
It's incredible.
Yeah, Grogu's enjoying it. I think they're at the Gladiator games here, and he's got some snacks. Yeah. Oh, is this that popcorn that's in Star Wars now?
Oh, the Bad Batch popcorn?
Bad Batch? Yeah, Bad Batch popcorn. Might be.
Mantel mix. Yeah, it could be. But yeah, we see Rada the Hutt. He's all grown up.
Yeah,
he's all grown up. I'd like to see Ahsoka put him in a backpack now and call him Stinky. I don't think that's happening anymore. Those days are over with, Snips. Those days are over.
Yeah. We actually do. Let's see. Do we have some? We have some comments from on this one here.
Oh, you're talking to me? I thought you were going to open up the phone line.
No. I can do that unless you want to go to Pedro and Sigourney and all that. We do have a call we could take about Mando and Grogu.
Why not? And then we'll hear from some of the stars and creatives for the Mando and Grogu.
All right. Well, let's start off with someone no stranger to our live streams here. We got our buddy Blake. Wow, Blake wants to sound off. Yes,
Kid Blake.
It's time for Blake's Take.
Blake, how you doing, bud?
Hey, Chut.
Chut.
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Good. Oh, do you hear that? There's a little more bass in
Is there?
Blake's voice.
I don't
think
hear
a little bit. No.
You still have the essence of Kid Blake. So never grow up. We don't ever want you to grow up. We want you to sleep in a sock drawer so that stunts your growth and stay young forever.
So, Blake, you want to talk about Mando and Grogu?
Yeah, so I was like, I saw the trailer. I'm probably not supposed to. I don't think any of us were supposed to.
But now I'm hearing the bass. Now I'm hearing I'm hearing a little deeper voice out of you, Blake.
Awesome.
All right, go ahead. Start from the beginning. Start all over again, Kid Blake, because I was talking over you, and I apologize for that.
Well, see, I saw the trailer. None of us were supposed to, besides if we went to Celebration. And it looks like it's going to be a good movie. It looks climatic.
Mm-hmm.
I get that's not going to be like the final product, that there's some still little CGI and stuff they have to work on probably. But it looks like it's ready to be released, even though we still have to wait till next year. It looks like it's going to be really good. Like, we get to see the inside of an AT-AT. Somehow the Razor Crest is back. I have questions about that. How did we get the Razor Crest back?
I think Hasbro might have had something to do with that decision. I don't want to speculate here, but so many people backed that Hasbro crowdfund project of the Razor Crest, and then within a couple of months of them shelling out the money, they destroyed it on the show. But it is back. It is back, and I'm glad. I liked the Starfighter, the Naboo Starfighter that they were in. That was fun. But it's not a home. It's not a home. They got their they got their little Winnebago they can take on the road.
Yeah, I see. It felt like, so they blew up the Razor Crest,
right?
And then they gave him a Starfighter.
Yeah, Pelly got him that Starfighter.
Like a toy, like a toy grab thing or something.
I don't think it was a toy grab.
They could make more toys.
Okay, it could have been a bit of a toy grab, but what I like to think is, Pelly, that might have been, because if I remember right, Mando wanted another ship like the Razor Crest, and Pelly couldn't find one. She found him the Naboo Starfighter, and blinged it out for Mando. But I like to think that she still had her eye open, and eventually she found one. It was in good condition. Is it an impound lot? And then she called up Mando and said, "Come and get it."
Maybe, or maybe the rebels gave him it when he joins them to help them out. Maybe they get him a Razor Crest as him being helping them out.
Yeah,
he gets a Razor Crest.
He's like, "I have one demand."
Like Sharecraft.
Yeah, right.
You want Beskar? No, just another Razor Crest.
Just through my eyes, it doesn't appear to me like the Razor Crest is anywhere close to being like the Cadillac of Star Wars starships. You know what I mean? It doesn't have much in terms of luxury. It doesn't have much in terms of firepower, even compared to some other ships. I just am curious. It must be sort of like Han Solo's relationship with the Millennium Falcon.
Jim, you don't seem to have much of an attachment to the Razor Crest.
Well, I did, support the HasLab thing, so that's got to mean something. I'm out $500. I like it $500 worth.
Okay, but whenever I do remember when everybody was really crying about the destruction of it, you were like, it's not like it's the Millennium Falcon here. But
that comes out of my years of watching Star Trek movies and seeing the Enterprise get trashed a couple of times. I always know there's going to be another one.
Yeah.
What does Qui-Gon say? There's always a bigger fish. Yeah. So there's always another Razor Crest. But
this one will be
I like the Razor Crest just fine. I think it's got a lot of personality, like the Millennium Falcon. I like the fact that it contains the first Star Wars bathroom we've ever seen. in live action at least.
Yeah.
Little things like that. I love how he stacks up the carbonite blocks of the bounties that he's captured in there, and just all the fun
lined up, like the ball.
No, I got a bit of, I think I like it a lot. I really enjoy all the sequences with Grogu and Din in the cockpit, and he's pulling the little knob off of the shift, the gear shift and all that. That's fun stuff. The ship has a lot of personality, and I am disappointed it was destroyed. He got that cool N1 starfighter that he rebuilt, but that's just not the same. That really isn't. And so maybe I was a little, I don't know, dismissive when the Razor Crest got originally destroyed, but I think it's time to bring it back. I actually do miss it. I do miss it.
This could have been also just, they might have just gone back to the drawing board, or not to the drawing board, but back to the beginning of, they wanted to bring in all the elements that made Mandalorian so insanely popular that first time out, and giving him that ship. And also when you think about the money and the cost savings, I remember reading about Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, since you brought that up, and since so much of the action takes place on the ship, they were able to save a lot of money because they can put the characters on the ship. So it's possible that maybe we will see several sequences with them on the ship that will actually serve them in the future. So could be a practical reason.
I hope so. And if they're smart, they'll give them a Razor Crest built out of Beskar, then it can never get destroyed. That's what I would do.
Future proofing for sure.
It's a lot of Beskar, my friend. But,
all right, Blake. Well, thanks a lot for calling, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Make sure you continue to listen and join us next week for the Andor After Show. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Take care, pal. He'll be back. Blake will be back.
He doesn't sound too pumped up for that old Andor After Show. I don't know. But I'm sure he will be calling in. Always great to hear from Blake. It's not a live stream unless we hear from Kid Blake. Right. Hey, I found that information about Sigourney Weaver's character.
Oh, okay.
But first, before I even reveal that, let's hear from Pedro, because this is a moment in the live stream that sort of made you and me chuckle a little bit. Pedro's just started talking a big game for the Mando film. I mean, like really shooting for the stars. And Dave Filoni was clearly nervous with this kind of big balling that Pedro was doing. Let's hear this sequence here. It's really funny.
Everyone has complete faith, as they should, in these guys to make it one of the best adventures we've seen since the first Star Wars movies were introduced to the world.
Whoa.
That's quite a promise. I love it.
So now you look nervous. Get back to work.
Yeah, everything's fine here. Situation normal.
Well, he hears
big,
that
bold claim, and look. We didn't think that anything could make as big of a splash as Baby Yoda did when Mandalorian debuted. So I think Mandalorian was bigger in terms of popular culture and bringing new attention onto Star Wars than any of us imagined it could be. So who knows? Will it make us forget how it felt to be in the theaters in the late 70s, early 80s, or even for the prequel kids in the late 90s and early aughts? I don't know. We'll see, but certainly will be great to have it on the big screen. That's for sure. Can we talk about Pedro's outfit, though? I mean, this was. I got to tell you, man, I love Pedro, but sometimes these celebs, and I'm sure this was not his choice. I'm sure he has someone on the payroll that dresses him, as a lot of these big, and he is now a real A-lister, Pedro Pascal, no doubt about it. His star has risen. Oh yeah,
fashion consultant. Yeah.
So he's got a bit of a, I don't know if you call it a puffy shirt. It's very blousy striped shirt with black.
The shirt is fine, Swank. The shirt is fine. Let's get
talk
to
about the black dress pants that have been turned into shorts. and the rubber galoshes that go up to the knees.
The wading boots.
Yeah. What were they expecting floods there in Japan? What was he going
Well, you
out
never
into
know,
the,
a
into the
tsunami.
fields? What was going
He's expecting a tsunami to hit or something. Pedro comes prepared. That's why they call him Prepared Pedro. But even Filoni kind of gave him a little dig that, you know.
He did.
I mean,
He did.
What about the boots? And Pedro's just like, whatever, guy. You know, these boots are worth more than your house. Is probably what Pedro's thinking. So yeah, no, I saw some I saw some internet outlets giving Pedro high praise for his fashionable sense and stuff. I just thought he looked like.
All right, you try showing up to your job tomorrow looking like that. All right, I defy anybody.
Try showing up in my neighborhood and see what happens. It ain't gonna be pretty, man. It ain't gonna be pretty. So, but you know, he's Pedro Pascal. He can do whatever he wants. He really is an A-lister. He's sitting on top of the world, and it was the Mandalorian that really kind of thrust him into the mainstream, and that was his big entrance to the mainstream. You know, I know he was doing other things like Narcos and Game of Thrones and whatnot, but it was really the Mandalorian that made Pedro Pascal a household name. And he's had nothing but success ever since, and he seems like just a really great guy. So I wish nothing but best of luck to Pedro Pascal. They even showed a picture of him on the set in complete Mando armor and helmet and everything. So he's going to be doing more than just offering his vocal talents. There are actually going to be shots featuring Pedro in the full armor and helmet. He did mention, though, the first time he put that helmet on, he couldn't see a damn thing out of it. And I don't think much has changed since then. So I'm sure there were people standing by, you know, a lot of mattresses set up around the set in case he falls down, because, you know, he is an A-lister.
He did give Brendan Wayne and Lateef the needed shout outs, which I'm glad
That's right.
That
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Now, see, Swank loves Brandon Wayne. I'm Team Lateef. You know, I like my Mandalorians with dreads. That's what I like. I really like Lateef. So Sigourney Weaver, of course, we mentioned, you know, she got her big official announcement as a member of the Mandalorian and Grogu cast. I did do my quick research. The name that's rumored for her is Colonel Bishop. Colonel Bishop.
Now I remember, because they took it from the Alien films, you know,
from
Bishop
Alien. Lance Henriksen's character,
right.
it was named Bishop in the original Alien. So we have Sigourney Weaver. She's talking about her character for the first time ever.
Well, there's a lot of opportunity.
Sorry about that. This is the right one.
Everyone.
Try that one.
She came up. She's a fighter pilot. She's still a pilot, and she's, you know, she came up in the rebellion, and now she's trying to protect the New Republic, and I believe is completely committed to what she does. Has had the good sense to hire Mandalorian and this sidekick, and you know, this is I'm going to find out if they're as good as they say.
Hey, all right. I think
So,
she brings that there's a grandeur about her. There's the word's gravitas. It gets overused, but I think that she just brings a certain level of professionalism, and I mean, she's Sigourney Weaver. I think, despite the fact that she's hopped around these different franchises, but there's a reason for that. And here's the other thing that I love, is that it sort of borrows that, you know, that Mando came out of that love of movies from like the 70s and 80s, and TV shows, I should say, from the 70s and 80s. So to use an icon like Sigourney Weaver, who really came to fame in that period of time, that's also kind of cool. You know, Stranger Things does that a lot, where because it's a love letter to the 80s, they'll use guest stars that are from major things that happened in the 80s, like Sean Astin and stuff like that. So I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, she's so charming. She's so damn charming. I just was taken by her throughout the entire interview. It's not like this is our introduction to Sigourney Weaver. She's been around forever, but there's just something about her being placed into the Star Wars franchise that I think is really awesome. So I'm looking forward to seeing her in The Mandalorian and Grogu for sure. Colonel Bishop, we'll find out. The cool thing is they did provide us some imagery of her wearing an X-Wing pilot uniform, which is cool. Indicates that she'll be seeing some action, perhaps in the cockpit of her own X-Wing. We'll find out. But it doesn't seem like she's just going to be a desk jockey in this film, which is pretty much what I thought her role would be. She like M. They would come see her, she gives them their mission, and off they go. But it looks like she's gonna, her character is gonna get her hands dirty as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Sigourney Weaver in an X-Wing cockpit, forget about it. Sign me up. So we got Jon Favreau, of course, the Favs, the man behind The Mandalorian, the big boss, the director of the film. And he discussed a little bit about the benefits of shooting a Star Wars film as opposed to shooting a streaming series, how he's happy to be back in the director's chair, and ways that they are preparing the film for IMAX screening. So that's gonna be cool to see The Mandalorian in IMAX. That's something we can't do courtesy of Disney Plus at home. So I like to hear Jon talk about things behind the scenes, and here he talks about the benefits of shooting a major motion picture like The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Well, there's a lot of opportunities that this affords, right? In television, as a showrunner and as a writer, that's a big part of the process. Here, I only got to direct one episode of all the seasons that we've had. And Dave Filoni, my partner, who you just had out here, who's been just an incredible mentor and partner, he directed the pilot, and we together established a look. But in feature films, to get to be the director is a different process.
Yeah.
There, the storyteller is there on set every day. We also had the opportunity, which is different, to have a much larger span of time to tell the story in. Not on the screen, but in making it. We had to turn around within a year to get each season of The Mandalorian up. Here we have many years. And so that allows you to plan differently, to have more, build more sets, to explore things virtually beforehand, to have rehearsals, refine the costumes, build more practical opportunities than we had before. And then, of course, filling the IMAX screen. Yeah. It's traditionally, Star Wars has been, a 2:3:5 aspect ratio from its earliest days. But then for certain sequences to be able to open up fully to a tall format, and how do you fill that with all the wonderful imagery that Star Wars provides?
Well, that's very interesting that he talks about how they've had years to prepare for this, when my perception was that this was a relatively last-minute decision to take what would have been perhaps season 4 of The Mandalorian and turn it into a film. But you listen to Jon Favreau, if you take it at face value, that this may have been, maybe after season 1 or after season 2, they decided that they were going to take it to the big screen. So, we do know that a lot of season 3 was the they had to dig themselves out of the fact that they weren't doing the show, the Gina Carano show. What was that? The New Republic show, Rangers of the New Republic. So they might have had to fashion season 3 to get flush some of that story out so that they would be ready for this film. There could have been aspects of this film that necessitated some of that stuff that was going to be happening in Rangers in order to get it. So maybe season 3 was the way it was because they had to make it work in terms of the continuity and get Din into a place where they knew they were going to start him off in the film. So many years to prepare, according to Jon Favreau.
Yeah. If they had really concrete plans to make a Mandalorian film, they would have announced it at Star Wars Celebration 2023. But they didn't. And at that convention, Jon said he had season 4 of The Mandalorian already written. So I don't know about all this, years of prep time. unless this is something that, he's been developing on the side in case the opportunity would present itself to create a Mandalorian feature film. So maybe he was working on concepts separately from season 4. And that's why we still hear rumors that there may actually be a season 4 of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus after the release of this film, sometime after the release of this film. Not entirely sure. Or was his concepts and ideas for season 4 boiled down and restructured, streamlined to make a single story that can be told in a standalone film? That's we just don't know. It's very curious though that he makes that statement about having years, because I don't really think that this was being considered as a very solid project until at least midway through 2023 and well after Star Wars Celebration London 2023, which was April. I think the decision was probably made late summer, maybe, to shift gears when it became clear that the Daisy Ridley film was not going to be ready to go in front of cameras because of all the woes they're having with developing a script for that thing. So it must be one hell of an incredible concept, because some of the best writers in Hollywood have taken a stab at it and have come up short. So we'll have to see. As far as that film, we know that it's still in the hopper. It's still in development, but they had to get something out there. They're not going to just go through all of the decade of the 20s and not have a Star Wars film on screen. So they fast-tracked The Mandalorian and Grogu. They knew they already had a lot of the pieces in place as far as cast and crew, assets, props, maybe even reusing sets. It was interesting to hear Jon talk about building sets as well. Makes me believe that this film is not going to be completely confined to the volume, although I'm sure the volume will be used, but it's not going to be solely in the volume. There will be some practicality to some of these shooting sets and locations. So Jon Favreau, it's always great to hear from him. He's a real visionary in filmmaking, and a guy who totally knows what's going on, a guy who can get the job done. And I can't wait for his directorial debut in Star Wars feature films. I really can't. Next summer can't come along quick enough for me personally. So Mandalorian and Grogu. We got one more clip here. This is from KK, Kathy Kennedy, the head cheese. And she's talking a little bit about the Mandalorian and Grogu here. And there's something that occurs in her statements here that kind of jumped out to me and Swank. So let's give it a listen and then discuss.
The great thing is, I think what Jon's done with this movie is, even if you haven't seen the series, you're going to have a great time with this movie, because he's introducing the characters we know, but he's also introducing new characters. So there's a chance to be dropped in just with the film. And seeing Baby Yoda up on the big screen, I got to tell you,
why?
It's pretty cool.
Wait a minute. Did she just say Baby Yoda after years?
I don't think I've ever heard conditioning referred to the character as Baby Yoda. I've never heard anyone so high up in Lucasfilm refer to the character as Baby Yoda. Favreau did so one time that I can recall, and he did so reluctantly. Because if you remember, at first, he was getting a little frosty about the whole Baby Yoda thing. Why do they call him Baby Yoda? It's not Yoda. It's a totally different character. But, if it looks like a Yoda, it is a Yoda. And that, sir, was a Baby Yoda, whether you like it or not. You could call him Grogu or the child. I don't care what the hell you call him. He's Baby Yoda. And
his name is in the title of the film, Kathy. So it's not The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda.
Kathy Kennedy, oddly, winning big points with me by calling Grogu Baby Yoda like that, and doing so with such zeal. I mean, it was like she hit that Baby Yoda hard. She wanted everybody to know. That's what I'm calling.
You see him on the big screen, that Baby Yoda. We all love him. Did I mention Baby Yoda's in the movie?
It just, shows that maybe occasionally she puts her fingerprint on the pulse of fandom. And you know,
Right.
maybe just a little bit. But like I said, she looked great and really won me over with that baby Yoda comment.